Very briefly, before we move on to non-doxasticism, I want to briefly just talk on the idea of sort of extended fictionalism and the sort of kind of, I guess, the balance between the individual's desire for these religious benefits, this class that they've sideloaded, with the honesty towards themselves and their community. Do you think it is possible for a religious fictionalist to be able to engage with something from, say they're 20 years old until the day that they pass away, and for almost nobody to ever really know that it was anything other than a sort of quest for them? Or do you think there are risks that they actually can't go deep enough because of the limits of their non-belief within reality?
Well, if we, first of all, we have to think of this person as someone who is not afraid of the bleed-over effect, but who embraces it, and let the fiction transform him or herself. And in that case, it's sure possible. How I'm not sure how healthy it is in other aspects. But let's say that this is the only that the role character this person plays is very similar to herself, and that there's no major differences except her religious belief. She would have been mostly the same, even almost entirely the same, if she had not been a believer, except these transformations that she gets from her religious fictional engagement. Then surely seems possible, and but I also think that this will raise the question, of course, if what will happen with her attitude along the way. Will she remain an unbeliever until she dies? Of course, she might be intellectually very stubborn, so that it might be possible. I think that it's a more realistic scenario would be that she might not become a believer, but I think that she might at least start to find the religious ideas she's entertaining in a fictional manner as somehow possible or probable, especially if we think that she constantly engages with other people who thinks they are not only probable but true, and tries to take their point of view, and presumably she will. So I think that the most realistic scenario is that she actually transform into an agnostic, in the sense required for non-doxasticism. So I think it would be reasonable to think that a very prolonged engagement with religion as a fictionalist would lead you over to non-doxasticism in the end. But of course that's on the view that or on the assumption that the religious environment she's a fictionalist in is not. That it's a reasonable religious environment where reasonable arguments for the existence of God are being seriously entertained and so on. Not that we're, if she's in a wacky religious environment where with not much of intellectual substance, she might, of course, not go through this intellectual development because she never finds any evidence or any arguments which makes it at least the likely that the religious views are true, and that she might stay atheist for the whole duration. But I think that if she's in a more reasonable religious environment where she finds substantial, up-to-date intellectual considerations and arguments for the truth of the religious, I think that will presumably change. But that is also on the assumption that most hardcore atheists have not considered the arguments from the other side enough. So I mean, if you don't think that's the case, but that you think that the all things considered case will always be atheist, perhaps you will not agree with me, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it just goes back to kind of the point we were speaking about before, how that it needs to be a realist religious tradition for it to make sense almost. Like if it was like a wacky crystal cult over the other side, they're all just kind of like, healing crystals and hot water and this sort of stuff, and it's all very woo-woo. It's not going to hit the right things for this person to want to even engage with it to start with. It's almost like it has to be a sort of quite a conservative, quite well-established environment that has a theology, that has a creed maybe, that has a sort of a set of beliefs that they espouse. It's really interesting. We've kind of... If you enjoyed this clip, head on over to Locals to watch the full conversation right now. Supporters can access the video version, and everyone can freely listen to the audio-only version of the conversation. If you're on YouTube or Rumble, please like, subscribe, and then hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a new episode. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.